This is Jane Low. I'm here on site at the Carlton Hotel, which is just right across from the historic hotel here in Singapore, the Raffles Hotel. And I'm very pleased and very privileged to have Jack Chandra Raya, who is the senior threat researcher with Sophos. And he's going to be sharing with us his latest research that he conducted with his colleague on what they deem as ShaZuPan or crypto romance, or Crypto Rom in short. And it's a scam that involves both the cryptocurrency as well as the romance aspects. So thank you, Jack, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to come to Singapore. It's a lovely place.
Right, yeah, Jack, you flew in from UK, so it's quite a long journey, and I hope that you're slowly getting used to the jet lag. But
It's worth coming here because we want to create more awareness about this threat, especially in Asia because it originated in Asia.
Right, yes. So talking about this threat, right, and you title it as ShaZuPan, which in Chinese it literally means a pig butchering scheme where you fatten up the pigs and then you lead them to a slaughter. And here in this case, we're talking about scamming victims by luring them with false profits and encouraging them to invest before you do a rug pull or disappear with their funds. Is that right? The reason behind your title?
Yeah, exactly. ShaZuPan, like you said, translates into pig butchering scheme or pig butchering plate, where they fatten the victims like pigs for months, and then once they groom them, they slaughter them and steal every single penny, and the gang behind this is merciless. So that's the term, ShaZuPan.
ShaZuPan, right. And of course, there has been quite a big amount of losses that you have tracked across the world. Can you just give us a sense of how much people have lost so far, the victims?
Yeah, we started looking into this in late 2020 when somebody we knew contacted us. They had lost about $80,000.
Wow.
So that's how we got into looking into this. Mm-hmm. And later, Interpol did a post saying a lot of people around the world have been affected by this, and the modus operandi was exactly the same one which we were looking into. So that's when we realized it's global. And we did a blog post initially about this. We wrote about it, and then a lot of users started contacting us. Mm-hmm. And many of them lost thousands of dollars. And the highest we have seen was from US, somebody who lost about $1.6 million.
Oh dear.
So, yeah.
Right. Okay.
All over victims from all over the world: Japan, India, Korea, China. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have been affected by this. So that's the people who communicated with us directly. But if you look in the media reports and other things, so there are like hundreds all over the world.
Right, and of course, the scamsters, what they are doing is they're exploiting two aspects of the vulnerability. So people who are really interested in profiting from cryptocurrency, as well as people who are looking for romance, hence the title of Crypto Rom.
Yeah, exactly. So people, they go to the dating websites or they randomly contact the victims. So people who have been victims of this have been on the dating pool for some time, so they've been looking. So they go and hook them up. Mm-hmm. And then once they fall for this, and then they pretend to be like a real dates, and then they groom them for months, and they say they're into trading or cryptocurrency, and that's how they make them fall into this.
Right, and so what struck me that is quite different from the old-fashioned dating scam or romance scams is that I'm thinking that the victims are lured into this dating, into forming relationships with all these fraudsters or scamsters. And after some time, they will say, I need the money for university or for education or for medicine or for health reasons, right? Yeah. So that's kind of the old-fashioned romance scams. And here, what the scamsters or the fraudsters are demonstrating is their increased level of sophistication by actually luring the victims onto cryptocurrency websites or other crypto websites, which they have to build to make it look legitimate. So it's a lot more sophisticated, isn't it?
Yeah, they have picked a few things from the old, like you described, old romance scams. But the new twist is adding the applications and website to it. So, and also with the rise of fintech applications, a lot of people use online mobile applications where you don't go to the physical branches, you do the banking on your phone, trading on your phone, so which makes it normal. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for these ShaZuPan guys to lure the victims through these applications and websites. So victims, as far as they are concerned, they are just downloading a legitimate-looking
right.
brand, just because often these guys copy legitimate icons or names which look similar, sound similar. So victims think they are doing the
The
real
right
one.
thing,
So,
yes.
but it's what actually happens in the background is fake.
So a lot of these are superficially the icons on your phone or the website. They look very, very
Yeah.
similar to the real ones. Like the brands, the fonts they use, the colors, right? So it's easy to fall for it. But I understand that, for example, Apple Store or Google Play, they have put in place checks, right, and controls to ensure that app developers, for example, right, actually put on their Play Store real apps, not fake apps like in this case. So tell us about how the threat actors manage to, to skirt around all these controls and all these checks.
Yeah, that's interesting as well as the sophisticated bit, like you mentioned earlier. We recently discovered it's also in the App Store, Apple App Store, which is very scary from the victim's perspective.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Recently,
Okay.
a few weeks back, we found an app which was in Apple App Store. One victim was sent this link, and they installed. Because it came through App Store, it made the victim believe it more.
I would
So,
have believed
yeah.
it.
And that was someone we came across, and spoken to, but we don't know. There could be others who've been sent this link to, because it was in the App Store. They didn't have to social engineer the victim. There are other cases where victims have been not sent the links from the App Store, but outside App Store. The way it works is everything. I want to focus on the Apple because most of the victims who've been speaking to us was through iPhones. And also, from our understanding, is because phone itself costs higher price, so crooks think they'll probably be richer, they're likely to spend more money, so they are targeting people with iPhones. There are Android downloads as well, but victims so far we've been contacted to most of them being iPhone users. Outside the App Store, the way it works is in Apple, everything has to be verified or validated by Apple. There's a way which Apple lets developers and testers to test the applications. So what these guys do is they exploit this loophole to get this fake applications into the victim's device. So all they have to do is social engineer the victims into installing a profile. Profile is nothing but like a file which has some device and app-specific data. So what these guys do is they use the methods which are meant to be used for the developers for testing.
Development background environments,
yeah.
right?
So
Okay. Not
Apple
meant to go out to the
yeah,
mass
yes.
population.
And also the scary thing is these apps which get through this method into the device, they are not reviewed by Apple. So anybody can get the app and get it straight into the device without getting reviewed by Apple. If the app goes through the App Store, it gets reviewed. But if it goes through these methods, you can just without review get into the Apple devices. It's not a new method. It's been abused in the past, but it's an Achilles heel, which is being exploited by malware in the past, but it's also being continued to be abused by these guys now.
So you're talking about these threat actors. What they do is they exploit all this the loophole in the development environment. The fact that if you put an ad in that environment, there's a possibility that you can sort of distribute it to your target sort of victim population. So they actually leverage that loophole.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, all they had to do is social engineer the victims. They send the link, and then once you send the link, the victim clicks on the link. What happens is, it'll say, do you want to allow these profiles to be installed? And if they let it install, what happens is they go to a web page which looks like App Store. It's not really App Store, but if it's a lookalike. They click OK, install the app. They install the app. That's it.
Right.
So because they are in romance and they've been groomed for months, so even though it has a lot of red flags, if
There's a trust there, isn't
if
it?
me and you see, it looks like there's a lot of red flags, but because there's a trust factor in this and the social engineering persuasion technique used, so victims seem to think it's okay, and they don't just click okay, and then just install it. So they don't worry. The safety and security doesn't come into their mind. That's what I think.
You talked about that some of these apps are actually on the legitimate app store
Yeah, this
that
was
you've seen.
that's one app
recently.
we've seen so far. Yes.
That's quite scary, isn't it? How did it bypass the security checks?
So we looked into this application. It pretended to be something called QR code checking application, but that was what the description said. But the icon itself has some kind of a trading icon, trading application icon. When we downloaded the app and saw it had the code, but lots of code. But if you run the app in the background, it was sending a request and getting like a C2, like a link to the bad guy's server, which had a fake trading interface.
Oh, right, okay.
So what we think happened, and it has happened in the past as well. So when you submit an app to the review for Apple, so they take a look. So maybe at the time they had everything clean, nothing malicious, just for the Apple guys. And then once it got published, maybe they did an update to add the malicious code, or to send or started sending the bad URL, which we call the C2, after it was published, and bad guys realized that Apple are not going to look into this. So this has happened in the past. Yeah,
okay.
this has happened in the past. It depends, on how the review happens. So somebody needs to see this. So maybe I should just slip through.
Or how the deployment happened actually.
Yeah, yes,
right?
it's questionable.
Post-review, yeah.
But it has happened. So
Right,
one thing to know is, because Apple gets less malware than Play Store, people think there's no malware at all, but malware do exist on the iPhones. So
Pegasus
yeah.
is mainly Apple
but
thing,
even they don't exist on the App Store, right? A lot of them don't exist on the App Store, but this exists in the App Store. So it's a bit. People needs to be wary of this of the apps, even if it comes from the App Store.
And you say that there's a recovery scam that happens after that as well. So
Yes.
once victims found out that they have been scammed,
Yeah.
there's a second stage of scamming that goes on.
Yes. So a lot of the victims lose money, so they want to recuperate, because most of them have loans or put savings, so they'll be in a desperate situation. So there are scams which target these kind of people, and then they say, contact me. We know to trace the crypto. So and then once they go, they'll ask for thousands of pounds and then or dollars, and then nothing happens, because this involves cross-border transfer, and also because it uses cryptocurrency. A lot of times, what happens is they take the cash from the bank, and then they convert this into USDT, which is crypto, and then they transfer it to the fake application.
Oh dear.
And then the bad guys use the fake from the fake application. They transfer into there's something called DEX,
Decentralized exchange.
So they use their own different decentralized exchange, which is non-standard from what I read from one of the reports.
Wow.
So which makes it difficult.
Very good.
So which makes it difficult to trace.
Wow. Okay.
So as far as I know, nobody who have contacted me have been able to recover all the funds so far.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the ransomware recovery, I think the rate is not very high, except in the case of Colonial Pipelines, which has the FBI involved. But otherwise, I think, yeah.
Yes, true. Just like ransomware, so these malware authors, you can't trust them, so this is very difficult to recover the funds.
Right. So, what are your tips for our listeners to, not to fall into this trap?
So, I've been asking these victims to understand why they did it. So, one of the important factors is a lot of these people just had not met them face to face, even though they didn't met.
Of course, it's all sort of long distance and virtual relationships, isn't it?
So, even though they have not seen face to face, they invested the money. So, if anybody comes in contact either through WhatsApp or their dating sites or even social media platforms, and they pretend to be somewhere close by, even if they give like small local details like address or anything, so do not trust them. Even someone who pretends to date you to ask to invest itself is a big red flag. So do not do any investments. So
until you meet the person face to face, I guess.
So probably even after you meet the person, right?
You still need to do some.
Unless you have months and months of communication and trust, so do not do any investments or transfer money.
Do not
so be
put
careful.
any money into anything, whether it's cryptocurrency or otherwise, I guess.
And also the applications is Apple App Store or Play Store. Only if it's a reputable, known company, double check and then install and then do the transactions.
But it's very hard, isn't it? Like, for example, we go to Google Play, and for example, yesterday I was trying to download a weather app. There's thousands of them. How are you going to say which one is,
So that's the problem as well, right?
Resource.
With the user experience, because problem in the system itself, because the Play Store will not know which is legitimate. So they can't restrict. We need a coordination between the banking and trading vendors who are legitimate to make a list, and the government to enforce and make a list. So these are the apps which are legitimate, which have
Right.
license to operate in this country, and then you only let them in. So it has happened in certain countries.
Yeah, well, this is not really a topic for today's
Yeah.
conversation, but I'm just thinking like apps, even if it's not, obviously asking for money, but they may, put in some malicious sort of code behind the scenes to spy on your phone or something that you are not aware of, right?
Yeah.
So it's really difficult nowadays to tell which ones are okay and which ones are not.
Yeah, it's a big problem for Google, especially Google, because unlike Apple, they don't code sign. There are more of these unknown apps which could be make it to the phones. But even Apple, so it's not completely, even though it's restrictive, but it's not completely safe. There are time to time fake applications or malware slipping in every now and then.
So what you're saying is that there are more checks and controls in the Apple sort of environment, but still it's not foolproof.
Yeah, by design there are more control, but still the malware could slip in, like we saw in the case of the ShaZuPan, and a few other cases in the past.
Right. Okay.
So always, because it's our money and it's our apps and our device, our data, we should be more vigilant,
Right.
and then more do due diligence before doing anything.
Yes. So we started off this conversation. You talked about the widespread damage that's spreading beyond just Asia. You saw most of it coming from Asia, and then now you see signs of it in Europe and also in United States. So it's not slowing down, is it?
So it's from what I did research, we started looking into it in late 2020, but when I did the research, so I realized it started targeting citizens from China and Taiwan initially. So it started from late 2010. So it was initially casino and gambling. So, and after that, it became a bit big in China, and then Chinese authorities started cracking down.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So a lot of these guys, then some of them got arrested. So all the one at the bottom of the chain, but the big kingpins fled China and then moved to the other Southeast Asian countries, smaller
Right.
Southeast Asian countries,
Okay.
and it said that they run the operations from there now, and then they moved to crypto and trading, and then COVID-19 happened. So because there's no face-to-face interaction, so it was easier for them to expand to Europe,
Right.
Americas.
Okay.
So it became bigger in 2020, and also the crypto went up really high in 2021 and
Absolutely.
2020. So from nothing, it went up to $60,000. So people were making like thousands of percents of returns. So that's what will do a lot of the victims, because they want to become rich. So these the profiles the ShaZuPan crooks had, like they were like leading high-end lifestyles. They were having supercars, having high-end restaurants, luxury bags. So when the victims saw that, they would say, I have this business, so if you want to lead a lifestyle like me, so come join me, do this. So,
And they gave them fake profits as well to give them a sense of this is real operation.
So they were all like, want to go to that next level. So that's what
Right.
lured them in as well. That was an extra factor. Which
Right. So I guess for our listeners out there, the two important things to be aware of is romance scams are old-fashioned, and the other one is don't let this FOMO or fear of missing out kind of thing get into you and jump into investing with someone or in some business venture that you're not familiar with.
Especially the ones you're not met face to face, and only you've been in contact only for a few months.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they can have virtual profiles or personas, avatars that you don't know, right?
So there are also cases. There was one case where somebody they contacted through Facebook dating. This was the ShaZuPan crook who contacted the victim through Facebook, and he had common friends in his friend list. So that's what made the victim think, oh, maybe somebody he knows. And also he gave details to like local streets and things like that, so which to make them believe. So this data is available on the internet, so anybody can get it. So these guys can get the data just to hook the victim. And also and the social media sites, these profiles don't get verified. So if you send lots of requests, there are a chance somebody will accept those requests and get into your friend list. So don't trust these things, even though they appear to look real.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good tip for me as well, because my professional profile on LinkedIn, I have some contacts that we have never met, but but we have a lot of common acquaintances.
Yeah. If you see mutual friends, you might think, oh, he knows them, maybe I'll know them. So, but a lot of times it happens because he thinks somebody else knows him. So maybe if one of them accepts requests, likely the others will.
Right.
That's how it works. So this is being exploited by these guys.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that tip. I will go back and take a look at retake a look at my LinkedIn contact list.
As long as don't invest or just being careful, it should be fine.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So a very, very classic advice: don't invest in anything that you haven't done enough due diligence in. Right.
Yes.
Basically, at the end of the day, it's about that.
So whether it's online or offline.
Correct.
So you need to do your due diligence. Be careful.
And FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Put that aside, right?
Yeah.
Put on your rational hat, take a deep breath, and step away, and then come back and look at it again, kind of thing.
Talk to your friends, family if you think, if you want to do it. So maybe they will advise you whether it's true or right.
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah, speak to friends. Well, real friends.
Real friends. Not online friends.
Right. Okay. Right. So thank you very much, Jack, for your time today, and I'm sure that our listeners will take your advice very seriously. And for me as well, I learned a lot about the fallacies of trusting the App Store too easily as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for doing this. So we want to one way of reducing this fraud is creating more awareness, educating more users. So I think through your medium, your listeners can create awareness, educate their family and friends. So make this fraud go away as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your time.